All right, let's get started. We don't even have a name for this podcast.
No?
I'm so tired of trying to name shit. I'm rolling out the mastermind. We've been vacillating over a name for 3 months. I'm like, who gives a shit? Just let's start the thing. We'll name it later. And then I still came up with a name, and I don't like that yet. So what's going on, everybody? It is John Wentworth. This used to be called the Thoroughbred Podcast, and we should play Tony's intro from the old one.
You're listening to the Thoroughbred Podcast, an elite business leadership podcast.
That's going to be fun. My man Tony has on the intro, but it was a business podcast. It was about elite leadership business podcast, and I was looking at that today. That was 5 years ago.
Damn.
And like so many people, I did about 6 or 7 episodes and then stopped doing it. Well, you know what? Now that I think about that, that's when we got fired from Remax, and so the whole setup had to be moved, and we had all kinds of shit going on. We just never got back to it. A lame excuse, but factual. Anyway, what's going on, guys? My name is John Wentworth, owner-operator, Wentworth Real Estate Group. Rolling out a mastermind right now. Right now it's called the Gain Network, right? Focused on helping people with their growth personally and professionally. I'm always a big proponent of that. As you know, I've got my man Adam McCullough in the studio.
What's going on, guys? Adam McCullough, Wentworth Home Loans. Yeah, man, I feel honored. Something that started 5 years ago, and all of a sudden, hey, we're back running. I'm the first guest to it. So.
Yeah, right. Well, who knows? We might do 10 others and air your shit on number 9.
Fair enough.
But anyway, so we got the 3-camera setup going. I was just saying to him off air, I'm like, we have 2. What are these called?
GoPros.
2 GoPros and an iPhone. Listen, but this is great example. Like, everybody's waiting to have all the perfect shit instead of just doing it, right?
Yep.
So here we go. Let's do it. Again, my name is John Wentworth, Adam McCullough. We happen to know each other, and we share something else in common. Besides a high work ethic and drive to just be the best version of ourselves, you just completed 75 Hard.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I happen to have, I'm not promoting this product, but I happen to have a First Form energy drink. So shout out to First Form. And I think I got to stay closer to this microphone or you're not going to hear my ass. Anyway, let's jump in, man, because you just finished 75 Hard, what, a week ago?
December 16th was the official date. So
the 16th. I did it 2 years ago, and I actually did it through December, through Christmas, through the New Year's, which was awesome. But as, so listen, Adam runs a mortgage company, right? It's right there. I run a real estate company. It's this whole building. We have 12,000 square feet. My office is back there, though, so our offices are very close. And so as Adam is going through this journey, it was very cool because I knew right away there was no shot. It was same thing to me. Like, once I started it, it was basically already done. Time just had to fly by. And it was the same with you, man. You crushed it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Something that I've heard of for 2-3 years going into it. I knew that you did it 2 years ago. Somebody that I've always looked up to is you, and seeing you do it was like, man, that seems a little bit crazy to me. And I was never I don't think mentally prepared, and I don't think if I wouldn't have been here working on a daily for the last really year, I don't think that I would have been in a mental space in October to try to take that challenge on. Because that's not something that you can take on lightly and say you're going to do it, and then all of a sudden 20 days in you cop out.
But I mean, so just so you know, we work together every day, but it's not like we're hanging out nonstop. I mean, we love each other, but we got families and shit, right, and businesses. So why that though? Because I never encouraged you, hey, you should do 75 Hard.
No.
So when you say being here, kind of was that catapult to doing it. Did you hear about it, or you had already known about it? You had a mind shift. You were researching it. You were listening to Frisella, what?
Yeah. So I mean, Frisella came into it pretty big.
Oh, well, that's right, because once I joined Arte, you started listening. There's a couple things that I shared with you.
Yes.
And so that's when you started listening to Frisella. Okay, that's right.
So that, and then I know that as a group too, a couple of us, I believe we were the Road Warriors or whatever. We had our techs named.
For working out
down in the basement.
Yeah, by the way, we have so we've got a 12,000 square foot 2-story building here, Fenton, Michigan, and I put a basement. There was already a basement, but it was jacked up. I put a gym in the basement, and shout out to Frisella for that, because really seeing his headquarters and seeing that gym there, that's what really inspired me. I had always kind of thought about it.
Yeah.
And then finally I'm like, screw it, let's go. And there's a great video of my wife, myself, my GM, and my wife. Have you seen this video? Oh, it's so damn funny. Because I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm going to put a gym in the basement. She's like, oh, shit, here we go, right? Don't do that, blah, blah, blah. So there's a video literally of like, essentially I'm sitting at the conference table across from my GM and my wife. So it's like those two are my adversaries. And the gym came up, and Jen's like, you're not putting that gym in, are you? And then it cuts, and then it's like, the saw's going in the basement. Oh. It's funnier than shit. So
there was, I think, 6 of us that said we were going to do this for 5 days. We're going to do 5 hard, as we called it. You knew that it was just kind of a whatever. We were just kind of getting outside and
I was tricking them.
Yeah. And
I forgot about this.
Well, as soon as we did that, I mean, I remember at the time, I was like, I couldn't wait to get done. The weekend couldn't come fast enough. I think we did it Monday through Friday.
And here's what happened, and this is what I was going to ask you about. This will lead into that. But if you've done 75 hard, you know that it pisses you off to see people half-ass it, or people that start it, fail it, make their excuses, or diminish it, meaning I'm going to do 75 soft. Well, then you're not doing the shit. Yeah. And so this was like my reverse psychology was like, okay, let's do 5 hard. I can get 6 guys to buy in on it. Hopefully 1 or 2 or 3 of them will actually do 75 hard. You did it,
right? So I'm one of them. There's been a couple people in the building that I know. Simon, he's completed it, right?
Yes, but just not at the same time.
Yeah, but so not at the same time. Alex is going through this right now.
Alex is doing it. Simon completed it. Simon did the whole shit. He did the whole
year
kabang, right? He did the Live Hard program. Yeah. And by the way, honestly, Simon's so many people in this building. You watch their transformation, but Simon, that was a big catapult for him.
100%.
I mean, totally different dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just tell. I mean, he's thinking on a different level.
Yeah.
And, me hearing that he's been through that, it's like, yeah, of course I want to advance myself. And I think that 75 hard, really, I guess not to go in too many circles, but we had the 6 of us that did it for 5 days or whatever. Fast forward, I think this was 4 months later down the road. I'm looking at myself, I'm looking in the mirror, not where I want to be physically, not where I want to be financially, not where I want to be, really in a lot of different ways, like in a lot of different relationships. It's like,
this is what I love about this, dude, and this is what I love about people that get into this point of their lives. They look in the fucking mirror and say, I gotta own my shit. And the only way to own your shit is to really own it. Like, I'm not financially where I be. I can pretend I am.
Yeah.
And I can put on a good front. But at the end of the day, when I lay my head on the pillow, I know.
Yeah. 100%, man. And part of the realization of this is what I needed to do. I guess I'll get right into that part. But I started taking cold plunge. I started doing cold plunges.
Yeah.
And so I started this back in.
Trust me, I got the pictures. He'd send me a damn picture every morning during 75 hard.
I started this back in September. I'm like, you know what? I've been getting a lot of injuries unnecessarily, and I started just, it's the hot trend right now.
Right.
I mean, if you go on social media, it's like you got people trying to sell you every different ice plunge and whatnot.
And by the way, I think he wore a suit today, so you didn't see this guy. He's a freaking brick shithouse. I mean, literally one of the strongest dudes you will meet, but not one of those dudes that is strong and flexes it. Just good soul, good heart. So
thanks, buddy.
And you have fun with it too. That's what I like. You have fun with your workouts.
Try to, but yeah, I mean,
all that goofy shit.
Yeah.
What do you call that stuff?
Just gotta rip the salts, man.
The salts, yeah.
Just rip the salts. But
anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, I was doing that really for the month of September, and we took a trip. I shared this with you before, but we took a trip up to Tawas, and it was just like, I don't know. I had such clarity. It was like removing myself from like the everyday. We hadn't been on a trip since really the last February. So it was like just kind of removing myself from the environment every day, coming to the office and grinding. We were only there for, I think, Thursday, and we came back Monday afternoon. And on the ride home, I remember I had like an epiphany right then. I'm like, man, there's so much meant for me in this life that I'm not taking advantage of, that I'm being, lazy on or looking the other way or thinking that shit's going to happen without putting my best self forward. And I don't know, man. It was like something clicked on that ride home. I remember telling my wife, I'm like, I'm meant for more than this.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever I'm meant for, it's got to be more than just being an everyday order taker. Like, dude, I want to make the future. I want to create it. I don't want to just kind of be partisan to it and just accept what happens. Like, no, I want to be the best version of myself in order to make my dreams and my goals and our family goals happen.
So awesome.
So,
isn't it amazing though? I mean, like, how old are you? They don't know.
So I am 37.
Right. I'm almost 37 too. But isn't it amazing? Like, I mean, what's ironic though? I mean, I was a flat ass broke nobody at 35.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, as human beings, we almost are conditioned that it's okay to just accept mediocrity. Mm. And then for some people, not many, probably a smaller percent, something fucking clicks. Mm. And you're like, no, not anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing happened to me. At 35, living in a hovel, right? Like, all jacked up, alcoholic. I mean, my life was going nowhere. And then I woke up one morning and there was an event on a guy on ESPN that his story very much similar to mine, right? His mom committed suicide, he became a drug addict, and I just sat there and bawled. But that was that moment. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be a victim to my past. Mm-hmm. And, again, by the grace of God, I emailed the dude. He was just on ESPN, and the fucker calls me.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember that phone ringing.
Wow.
And now those are those life-changing moments. But I always say, like, God opens doors. You got to walk through them. That guy being on ESPN, telling a story that was, he was a goalie in hockey. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm watching my story.
Yeah. Wow.
So God opened that door, but you got to walk through it. Mm-hmm. And so this is like that door opening for you.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea. Like, walking into the office the next day, came in and we had a Zoom call set up with Shep Black.
That's right. This is the other piece. See, but watch. So God opens the door, you walk through, it's on your mind, you're thinking about it. And then what happens?
I mean, it was like I got freaking smacked across the face with reality. Like you better start panicking because this shit is not going to fix itself. Yeah. And I don't know John Cheplack, which incredible coach. I mean, he from my experiences with him, it's like I've never not gotten something from a meeting or even.
Well, and I remember your face afterwards. You looked at me and you're like, oh, I feel like he was talking to me.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. It was like it was the perfect time for me to hear exactly what he had to say. Right. And I mean, there
could have been a lot of other times you'd have heard that and it went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah. And we actually stayed up. So when we were in Tawas, we actually stayed up. It was Thursday through. We stayed up there Monday night. We stayed one more. Oh no, it was a Monday call. So we stayed up there Sunday night. And I remember that I was contemplating on being home for that meeting or just chalking it up as, hey, it's a travel day. It's a 2-hour travel day.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's a travel. Did you work out today? No, I got on a plane for an hour.
Yeah, right. And I remember that moment right there. Started 75 hard the next day. That was October 3rd and finished it on the 16th. So
it's funny because people now here's another lesson, right? A life lesson is that we could talk about 75 hard the whole frickin' time. Oh, yeah. You've got to be able to find inside of this conversation what is applicable to you, what is applicable to your life personally, what is applicable to your business, because so much of this stuff parallels your business. And that's something I'm always trying to get across to people, right? They always think like, I'll just be happy and make money and everything will be fine. That's not the case. You've got to do the deep work, as we say, and that's what you've really been doing for a while now.
Yeah.
But that ability, I think, to reflect and accept, it started with you had to declare it. Like, I'm not living this way anymore, right? You had to declare it, so you had to own it. Then what happens? A door opens, and then another door opens, and you just keep now walking through the doors instead of saying no.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I everything building up to that too. It's like, man, like it took a lot to be able to get the confidence to be able to jump into those ice baths and so like this started. I mean, when did my CrossFit journey start? Maybe 4 years ago,
right?
So it's like just that and going out on business on my own, and then like building a relationship with the agents in here and with you, and then building a relationship with Legacy, who's my parent company. It's like everything kind of happens like when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, man. It's like walking through doors that God puts there. And if like you're not ready to do that, I mean, what's the point of it?
Well, I think also sometimes people try to walk through a door when the door isn't ready to be open yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they try to force something. And generally the reason people do that is money or ego, right? Out of ego or money, I'm gonna blah 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 because it's what's in it for me, other than, you know, coming from a perspective of, you know, in doing this, how's it going to impact the masses? How's it going to impact others? 75 Hard doesn't just impact you. Yeah. This makes me freaking emotional, right? It impacts your wife. Yeah. Impacts your, how old is Bam? They don't know.
He's, so I have a 3-year-old son.
Yeah, so 3-year-old son, wife of how many years?
12 years.
You better get that
12
right.
years of marriage, yeah.
It impacts them, right? And so this whole thing, like all of these things impact others, and when you're chasing things just for me, and I'm not saying, sometimes we got to be a little bit selfish too, right?
Of course.
Like you got to be selfish enough to get 75 Hard done, right? Because it's going to be time away, but then it also gives you time back. And for me, when I got the time back, I was way more present.
Yeah.
Right?
100%, man.
What, I guess let's just stay on the 75 Hard thing again, but continue to compare it to business or to life or to what was the thing for me heading into 75 Hard, and this is what I've kind of conjured up, is that the thing that people most are reluctant to give up is what stops them from wanting to start 75 Hard. So if somebody doesn't work out at all, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to work out 2 times a day. Right. I don't even work out at all. If, you know, whatever that may be, right? For me, it was the drinking part. Like, and, you know, sitting here now almost 8 weeks sober, you know, thanks to Ed Milet, quite frankly. But again, I already had taken the blinders off. I knew this for a fucking year or more. I knew this was a change I needed to make. And it was just being humble, being vulnerable, opening up, sharing that with Ed, and then the feedback that I got, that was the light bulb. And now still I got to do the work, right? But for you, what was the thing that you were like, shit?
Man, the thing that I was most afraid about on 75 Hard, so going through the calendar, I think that was the biggest thing, because there's an excuse and there's an event for damn near everything, where you're going to be around booze, you're going to be hanging out with people drinking. So I guess in a lot of ways it was me drinking, you know, and
it's not because you were fiending alcohol. It's such a social thing.
It is.
And we've been, again, conditioned to think that we have to do that because that's just what everyone does.
For sure.
You know? For sure.
And you know, I mean, there was, during 75 Hard, there was events. I mean, we had the team retreat.
Blaze for Holidays.
Blaze for Holidays, which is, you know, a huge bash. I mean, this is the 3rd year that we did it. The first 2 years was like the biggest party in Fenton of the year. Right. You know, and it was something that it was just, as soon as I said I was going to do it, didn't even fucking matter.
Isn't that weird? Because the same thing, like once again, drinking for me was the thing. I was like, oh my gosh, da 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 da. As soon as I said I was going to do 75 Hard, I never thought about drinking the entire time. So weird. But then after 75 Hard, slowly getting back into the norm, and then I actually cautioned you about this, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, not because this dude's an alcoholic by any means, but listen, man, every time, every minute, every hour, every piece of your day you're spending time doing that, it's taken away from something else. And it's also, it's jacking you up in the morning for the next day, whether that's your workout, whether that's your business. I mean, talk about the clarity that you've gotten. Because I know your mind, you know, when you go through 75 Hard, your brain is just like, you're like, holy shit, I'm a genius. No, like, you're just thinking clearly.
I know, where's this been? Like, but yeah, I mean, just the bells and whistles definitely just are going off at a lot easier pace. You know, I'm not like putting as much energy in this problem solving, because it's just there's only one answer, and this is it, and this is my final answer,
and that's what we're going with.
And being more decisive, like, I don't know, I guess
but a lot of that comes from building confidence through the program. And you know, we talk about this again, and I don't want to. Again, if you're listening, thank you. I love you. We don't have any sponsors. I don't even know. We don't even have a fucking name for this thing. Maybe you can help us name it. But I mean, really, like, these are the parallels of life, and I think 75 Hard is something that reflects those along the way. And at so many, I guess you would say, facets of the journey of 75 Hard, going through so many different things, because the conditions are never perfect.
100%. Ultimately, I mean, 75 Hard, what it's taught me the most is, if you want shit to change, you fucking be that light of change. And everybody else will get
in line
better, and they're going to look at you as the leader of
or
what
they'll
they're
get out.
going to do. Yes.
Right? Because you're like, shit, that looks hard. I don't want to do that. I thought I was all good when I was just chilling here, but I don't want to have to really do the work.
I mean, we lost 2 loan officers over the time I was on 75 hard because I was just done with dealing with bullshit.
Yeah.
And, that's not to say that I don't love either one of them. I do, but...
When you hold yourself to it, and this is why we get, I think, frustrated when people talk about 75 hard or 75 soft, or I'm going to tweak it, or I did it, but I did this. No, you didn't do the shit. Yeah. And so people that have actually done it, not said they've done it, that offends them almost because you're belittling the work that we did. And it's the same thing when people around us are not in that same mindset, they become glaringly obvious to us.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can tell. Like right now, I can't even count how many people have reached out to me about like, man, what you're doing is awesome, and just seeing random people. We'll be out to eat, and I'll have people, hey man, keep it up, you're doing great. Yeah. Like it's so cool to see. And I have a guy that's doing exactly what I was doing to you. I mean, every time I look at myself in the mirror without a shirt on, John, I'm sorry, but you're going to be officially attached to it for the rest of life. So it's 5:30 every morning when I'm taking
I wake up, grab my phone, and there's a picture of Adam in the mirror.
Well, now I'm getting that favor returned to me,
right.
which is awesome. The
Who's
guy.
Doing it?
So it's a guy out of Owasso, but it's Danielle's cousin.
Oh, cool.
And he's kicking ass.
That's the beautiful thing, right? When you can inspire somebody else to do that.
Right.
You know what? I mean, literally, where's my damn phone?
I mean, and he's on. I think he's on day 20 right now.
I don't know where my phone is, but I just today took a screenshot of 75 hard.
Oh, is it underneath your?
Is it?
No. Oh no.
I took a screenshot of 75 hard. A woman who was just about 5 days, I think she said, from finishing the program, and there'll probably never be a better plug than this whole episode for 75 hard. But you know what? It deserves it.
Yeah,
I mean, truly.
100%.
Like people talk about diet, they talk about this, and they talk about that. You don't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
All you have to do is 75 hard. Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, this woman is down like 200 pounds.
No, she
looks like a totally different person from 1 year. And I think that's the other cool thing about this. In 75 days, how much can change? Well, then in 1 year, how much can change? Mm-hmm. Well, what about 5 years? How much can change? And again, going back to the conditioning that people are in, they're just okay with living this mediocre life. But before they know it, life's fucking passed them by.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
And you think about 75 days, the changes that happen in your mind, the changes that happen in your body, just the changes that happen in the relationships around you. It is that powerful. And, I think that what it really comes down to, though, is ownership. You got to own your shit.
Yeah.
You got to face it head on. You can't sweep it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make excuses. You've got to get the job done. I was at a freaking Need to Breathe concert. And the thing wasn't going to be, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be home by 10. I thought the whole time at 75 hard, I thought that you had to be done by midnight. Now, maybe that is true, but from a lot of the things that I've seen since then, you don't. So for me, I'm guzzling water at 11:52, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm at this Need to Breathe concert, and I'm like, shit, I'm an hour from home. I got very lucky here, I will tell you this. That morning, because at Twabor, by the way, big shout out CrossFit Twabor, we work out outside a lot, right? Well, that morning was an outside workout.
Nice.
Because, and I didn't even think about this, I'm at the concert, I'm like, well, shit, I just went out the parking lot, started jogging. I actually went Facebook Live during it. I'm in a dress shirt, I have freaking dress shoes on, and I'm jogging the parking lot because I must finish, right? And again, I thought I had to have it done by midnight. But after about 20 minutes, the concert gets over, and my wife comes out, and people we're with, and we get in the car and drive home. And I'm in the back, I got a case of water. We got the Escalade, I got this shit all laid back in the back. The next day, a buddy of mine goes, I think you failed. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, your workout wasn't outside. And I'm like, oh shit, you're right, because half of it was outside, half was in the car. And then I'm like, oh gosh.
Thank God.
Worked out that morning outside at Twabor. So,
That's
but
awesome.
I mean, you do whatever it takes, right? By any means necessary, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, man. Probably the weird part of it. So my parents, I'm like, going over there, and very, very normal for us to sit and, just have a beverage or two on their deck, right? And first week, no big deal, whatever. No, I'm good. Well, we get over there like the 4th, 5th week in a row, and they're like, so what's all this thing that you're doing? And they start to become a little bit curious about like, where I've been like, man, you're up every day first thing in the morning. We're seeing you're very more active on social media. You're just, and that had nothing to do with 75 Hard. It's just that helped me with clarity.
Well, it does a little bit though, because now you realize how much time is in a day and how much time we've been wasting.
Yeah. And like, so, but I remember my dad asking, like, he's like, hey, so what are you in, like some kind of cult or something that you're not, like you can't even have a beer anymore? And I'm like, I got it, but I'm like, it's not about the having a beer or not having a beer. It's about the making a promise to myself, knowing that I was going to do it and just getting through it. And, I mean, because since then, now I've told him kind of the reasoning behind it. Right. And it's like the most ultimate form of rebellion is personal excellence. Yeah. So as you start to like make these improvements and start working on your mind and your mental toughness and, like fortitude, all of the stuff that comes with the program, it's like, yeah, I can definitely tell a difference, man. From where I was at 3 months ago, from where I was at 6 months ago, I mean, I'm not even the same fucking person.
Right. Well, we talk about the keeping that promise to yourself, and this goes back to the personal side of this. It's like people talk about being confident, having self-esteem, and all of those things. And the easiest way to diminish your self-esteem or your confidence is to make an excuse.
Yeah.
Is to say you're going to do something and then not do it. Now listen, everyone does it, and you can fool all your buddies. Yeah. They'll take your bullshit, lame ass excuses, and you will too. But at the end of the day, when you lay your head on the pillow, and that is the easiest way to hurt your self-confidence, to hurt your self-esteem, and then, ironically enough, though, the easiest way to build your self-confidence, your self-esteem, is to do the shit that you say you're going to do. And I think that's really what 75 Hard does, is you're conquering. I was thinking about this the other day, right? I mean, obviously I've gone through a lot of shit, right? Molested as a child, blah, 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 all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm almost 8 weeks sober now. And I'm right now the same way I was during 75 Hard. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I just don't drink anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's that clear to me, right? Plus I got that highlight reel that I tell you I'm playing, right? And, it's just that clear. But I forgot what I was going to say. Shit.
Highlight reel.
Building confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think you're kind of going along the lines of like, hey, if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, it ruins you. If you say you're going to do something and do it, you put you right back in. And
and so inherently by doing 75 Hard, you're building that confidence every day. That's what it was, right? Yeah. I'm like, I was laying there and I'm like, I've conquered so much in my life.
Yes.
I'm going to conquer alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like another layer to the depth that I'm already focused at. You know what I mean? So, getting into business, right?
Yes. Yep.
You're in a leadership role, right? You've got, I don't know, there's 5 or 6 people sitting over in that other room right now. Yep. What are some of the things you've learned over the last year, right? Making a transition, coming in, because I'm a big believer, like, we've our real estate company, whatever, we sell a lot of real estate, right? 1,000 families a year, serve a lot of people. That's all great. One of the biggest things I've learned though is like people need to be around people. You always hear you are the sum of the people that you spend your most time with, and it's so true, right? If you hang around with 5 smokers, you're going to be the 6th. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. So you making that shift and coming here, now you're in this environment with all of these and a lot of very high performers.
Oh yeah.
And I think the way that people can parallel this to themselves is like, first of all, you better check your circle.
Yeah.
Who are you spending time with? You know what I mean? Are they people of their word? Are they doing what they say they're going to do? Are they trustworthy? Do they have integrity? Like, you better check all of those things. And then secondly, being in that environment, how has that shaped you? Because you said earlier, like, from coming here, you probably wouldn't have done 75 Hard if you weren't in this environment, essentially.
100%. So I would say that previously and before January of whatever the date was that we officially moved in of last year, kind of like the Wild Wild West, where, not really any structure in my schedule. It didn't have to be anywhere at any certain time. Not that I have to be here now, but it's almost like I look forward to coming here.
Yeah.
But my office calls and my going and meeting up with random people and just having to deal with so many different like personalities and different, types of sales. It was just, it got very exhausting.
Yeah.
Where I have to be this person for this person over here, and I have to be this person for this person over here. And I get that. That's part of sales, right?
Sure,
You have to
adapt.
Adapt.
But you don't want to be phony.
Exactly.
There's a very big difference, right? Adapting and being able to, I say, be a chameleon, right?
Yeah.
That's very different than going in and being phony.
Yeah.
And those people drive me crazy.
Right. And I mean, there was a lot of people that, like, a lot of rumblings, a lot of pushback when I said, hey, I'm on board. This is Wentworth Home Loans. This is the direction I'm running.
Just to kind of put this in perspective for you, because we will jump into some more business, right? But essentially, I own an independent real estate company, right? Not a big box brand, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we're one of the largest in the state of Michigan, one of the top 50 in the country. For perspective, doesn't make us great. We still got a lot of learning to do. You know what I mean? We're just getting started, is what I always say. But we're going to continue to build it, right? And build it right, which means not instantly, but right.
Yeah.
And so he has been a mortgage broker for 5 years, worked at a couple of different companies, and then we got involved because he started co-oping with some Zillow with us. But he was still Lightning Home Loans at a different location. He was just getting some business
correct
with us through Zillow. And then we parted ways, and then he came back, and this time when he came back, he wanted to be Wentworth Home Loans, so we created this whole thing, my wife and he,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
But for him, that was saying to all these other realtors, essentially, that I'm now here, and I hope you'll accept that, but I understand most of you won't.
Right. And there's, again, there's been a select few that have been more than supportive of it.
Yes,
and it's like those are the winners that
I could probably name them, and those are your true friends.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And fuck the rest.
Yeah,
because you're going somewhere.
Yeah,
and they either get in or get out.
And a lot of the ones too. I mean, a lot of loan officers were kind of in that camp of like, I can't believe that you do that. Like, sell out. Like, listen, I didn't sell shit. Like, there's.
Well, it goes back to the cult, right? Everyone's like, someone said, "Are you in a cult?"
Yeah, right.
People always say this. It cracks me up. They're like, "Oh yeah, you work at Wentworth Real Estate. That's a cult." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a cult. We sell thousands of homes. We serve the community. We've given back over $300,000 to schools, community fundraising organizations. You can't survive. That's the kind of cult I want to be in."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly, man. And you just, you go through that and you're like, man, the work that I've put in for the last, and I've been doing this since 2012, right? So I'm on my 14th year now.
14. I said 5 years.
I'm sorry, 12 years. 12th year now. And it's like, man, over the course of the 11 leading up to this one, or this previous one, so the first 11 years, it's like a lot of these people that I was trying to pursue, I'd maybe get a sniff of business once every 6 months. And it was almost just so that I would keep coming back and
or that you'd go away.
Exactly. And it was always the deal that I had to jump through hoops on.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I could tell my friends and the people that I've connected with, and like, listen, I don't need to do this to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
Like, it's like, so if me going and getting behind something that I can believe in, or at least something that I have the hope that I can get in belief of, because at the time, I didn't really know where we were going to go with this.
Right.
When I pitched you guys, I wasn't sure exactly where it would go and what would come of it. But I can tell you that I had a lot more faith in what you guys were doing in this office, because I kind of seen a little bit behind the curtain when we were doing a lot of the Zillow stuff versus some of the other people that just, no kind of plan, no kind of, they didn't really have an outline of what they wanted to do. And I'm like, that's something that I always knew that I would get here.
It's funny because we started this conversation talking about doors opening, and God providing opportunities, and we've got to walk through it. And this whole relationship goes back to, excuse me, a lot of our agents were using Adam, said, oh, he does a really good job, blah, 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 blah. We were starting to grow our spend on Zillow. And so I'm like, okay, I want to reach out to Adam. Adam comes in with his wife. We sit down with them. Do you remember the spend we asked?
Yeah. $6,000.
That's it?
Yeah, that was everything we had.
But this is where I love this dude, right? And this is no shit. So we sit down with them. We tell him, $6,000 a month, and his eyes kind of went like that. And I don't remember really how we left it. Like, I think you were going to talk about it, but you were basically like, I don't know, I don't think we can afford it, blah, blah, blah. And you left, and my manager said, they're not going to do it. And I said, I fucking guarantee they will.
Yeah.
And you just see in people, right? And so, but that goes back to that was that first door that opened, and you walked through it.
For sure.
Scared, not enough money to maybe do it. You put the shit on a credit card.
Yeah. I mean, we had great lines of credit at the time.
Yeah.
That worked out.
But think about that, and I think this is one of the problems that people have in life right now. When things come very easy to them, they don't put the work behind it.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're getting off 75 hard. We're getting into real life shit.
Yeah.
If even leads, you think about leads in real estate. Like if I just keep giving you more, the effort you put behind the follow-up on converting them is going to be less.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to get a lead when I started, I had to go do open houses. I did 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday.
Right.
And they were fucking $30,000 houses. But I was willing to do whatever it took. And I was thinking about this today because, we're starting this mastermind, right? And I had somebody reach out to me, is this for real estate only? No, it's for any business, right? It's for anybody that wants to grow personally and professionally, plain and simple. And she said, well, I have a cleaning business and it's just me, but I'm starting to have to turn away clients. And she didn't mean it this way, but we're messaging, right? I mean, it is what it is. She said, which means I'm turning away money. And I said, here's the thing. When I knew, because I had 3 assistants before I had any other realtors. Mm-hmm. Most people want to build a team because it's money. Again, we talked about earlier, if you're chasing money, right? I didn't. I wanted to build relationships so bad. I wanted to feel valued. Mm-hmm. Being broke all my life, being a fuck up, just out of control, train horses for a living. Like, I never felt valued in society because, it's almost horse racing is a different society, right? You get into this thing, you come out of it, you're like, wow, there's a whole different world out here. But for me, the driving force was building relationships. And so as soon as I felt like things were slipping through the cracks, I'm like, okay, I don't want to lose one relationship because that relationship, that's how I valued myself, is could I provide something that people needed? And so that's when we started hiring people and growing that team, was so that nothing slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. But you also had it built to the point to where you weren't going to oversell what you could provide, with your support
to the team, to the agents we brought on, for sure. I mean, dude, many a lot of people don't know this, but we're in Michigan, right? I don't care what anybody says. I've heard all the geniuses say real estate isn't seasonal, but when there's a foot of snow on the ground, it's 10 below zero, and all of the lakes are frozen. By the way, we've got about 16 all sports lakes in a small area, which is a lot of our sales. The market slows down here. And there was winter after winter after winter that I took a credit line on our house to continue to put money into the business. Yeah. Knowing that, okay, if I can just squeak through and come out the other side, right? And so I'll never forget the first time that I didn't have to do that.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. That's when I knew, okay, we're building something here, right? So that was a big moment for us.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, so the doors opening thing, right? That was the first one that opened in our relationship. I remember, when it was time to, hey, listen, this thing's growing. We're getting a lot of closings out of this, and as soon as we thought we were kind of getting to that point, you're like, hey, man, it's time to pony up. We got to go from 6 to 10. Yep. And at that point, I could see where you were going, where you were trying to get to, and without hesitation, I said, let's fucking go.
Yeah, that was an easy move. Yeah. Right? Going from 6 to 10 was a lot easier from going to 0 to 6. Right. But that's another thing. I think why the people you spend your time with are so important, because if you can see the vision and you can see the systems and the processes to an outcome, and you know that there's an ROI, it doesn't matter if you spend $6 grand, $60 grand, or $600 grand. Yeah. You got to have the shit to spend it, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So that's, again, that just leads to the importance of being around the right people, right? Mm-hmm. But then you show up and you did the work behind the scenes, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like when things come easy to people, they're less apt to follow through, and they're less apt to really come at it with a no stone unturned approach. I'm going to make this happen no matter what.
100%.
And so when you put the shit on your credit card and you risk going broke, you're probably going to get it done.
Yep, exactly. Heck yeah, man.
So tell us about mortgages right now. What's going on? I don't know what the date it is. I do, because I read my Proverbs this morning.
Yeah, there you go.
January 4th.
January 4th,
2024. Yes. What's going on in the market? What are we looking at this summer? What are your predictions?
Yeah, so I
mean, you know what? You should just predict with your gut, because you'll probably be right.
Yeah, I really do see rates coming down to an extent. It's tough to say exactly. You hear rumblings on the news like, hey, I don't know. I don't believe anything I hear on the news anymore. It's like you see.
I don't even turn my TV on unless it's Yellowstone.
And that's a lot of the concern that we get from buyers that call. Hey, well, we just heard we had a rate deduction. I'm like, well, where'd you hear that from? Because you might be online shopping and seeing that this rate's available, and it's like, but your house that you're buying is $125,000, and you're putting down 0%, and your
everything
your credit score is a 640. It's like it's way different. So everything's circumstantial as far as loan programs.
I thought you were going to say circumcision.
But
maybe that's the name of this podcast.
Oh, geez, cut it off.
No, not cut it off, man. Cut it off. Not what's another word that's similar to that, like precision.
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 Precision. I like it. Better than the. Yeah.
It's better than the circumcision podcast. Cut that show off. Those guys are terrible.
I have to imagine, the buyer's market's still strong right now. I mean, we're still getting calls all the time about, people trying to get into houses any way that they can. There's a need for it.
We had one of our best Decembers ever.
Yeah, it's us too.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you just.
But watch this. How much of that goes back to where we are right now in our lives?
Yeah.
Not just the market, because most people are struggling, and most people want to talk about how high the interest rates are, and we say, screw it.
Yeah, who cares?
It got nothing to do with it.
And the bottom line that we always ask people is, okay, number one, what is going to be something that you can do every month, on the month, no questions asked? Because the last thing we would want to do is put somebody in a position where they're not going to, or promise them a refinance down the road where we have no idea what the rates are going to do. Now, all indications point to rates coming down, leveling off. I mean, do we see 5% this year? I don't know, give or take, but I say that we definitely see
I think
6.
we'll see in the 5s.
Yeah. And I think we're damn close right now. The 30-year average for a conventional is like 6.5 as the time of this.
All this interest rate shit. I always what do you think the biggest misconception is to the consumer about an interest rate?
So
anybody with a brain knows the higher, the bigger the payment. But what's the biggest misconception behind the interest rate?
So the biggest misconception is that you're going to be essentially locked into that interest rate for 30 years. I think that, and I just said, you'll never promise a refinance, but the average mortgage, I think over the last 5 years, the average mortgage, with the exception of really the last year, it's it was only lasting for 2.5 years.
Right.
So
because rates were dropping so
rates
often,
are dropping, or the dream house, that you advance your life, and now you're not in that house, so now you're moving up the ladder too. So now you're getting a new mortgage, closing this one out. So, you have to be prepared for it for the term of the loan. However, the odds of you being in that loan locked for those 30 years or 15 years or however long you take it out for, there's always ways that you can adjust, and always ways that you can, move around, or sell your house, or whatever the case is, right? So I don't think that it comes into play as much, as long as, again, that monthly payment is going to be the biggest focus,
right?
Because it's all relative, right? You can get a 7% interest rate. Everyone says right now that, rates aren't that bad historically, right?
Yeah.
So this is the one that triggers me to all get.
Dude, go ahead and tell it, and then I'm going to share my analogy of it.
So, when I was in the 1970s, I paid 17% for an interest rate, or whatever.
But this is what realtors run around and say to people.
Yeah, and you also bought the house for $30,000.
Correct.
Which now is a $600,000 house. Yeah. And so 17%, okay, that sounds low. But when you're talking, you're paying 20% higher than what that house was purchased for. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so
that drives me crazy. Because what I say to that is that's like getting laid and then never being able to get laid again. Right? You would, I don't know if that's just like that, but, right? I used to have to pay 17, so now 7 is no big deal and you shouldn't mind. Yeah. Well, I got laid, but now I can't ever get laid again. Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, for sure. And just, you got it.
Terrible analogy.
I think it's spot on, right?
It might be terrible for public viewing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the biggest misconception is what you said earlier that I hear from consumers often is they go somewhere and I don't think they realize that everybody starts with the exact same rate every single day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to explain that to the people?
So, basically,
because I think ultimately they go somewhere, see something, hear something, they see the rate and they just think that's the rate. They don't understand that credit changes it, the type of financing you get changes it. There's so many variables to the rate.
Yeah, and I guess we'll stick with kind of conventional loans on this, but there's loan level adjustments for percentage down, and for just credit score. And once you hit a certain point on both of those, it's it doesn't really matter where you're going to go. You know, if you have a 40% down 800 buyer, you're going to get pretty much the same rate across the board.
Right.
You might be talking 0.8% difference. But at that point too, I mean, if you're going for that lowest cost, I think that a lot of times you sacrifice the service of somebody being local, somebody, you know, knowing that they have a staff behind them instead of sending it off into another state for underwriting. I mean, there's a lot of shit that comes up that, and we have people all the time that's like, man, we just, you know, can you beat this rate? And I mean, could we beat it?
That's what I mean. Like, everybody focuses on the rate.
Yeah.
Well, what about if our rate is 0.25% higher than the other people, but they've built in 0.5% in costs?
Yeah.
And so now you're really losing it. So there's so many variables, right?
There is, and you know, I mean, I guess, you know, when you're I guess without getting too technical into it, if you have a loan officer that's willing to you know, take a less commission on a loan, it's like, what, you know, you're taking, instead of giving everybody an equal shot and taking care of the person that took care of you, and, you know, they were answering your phone call 7:00 at night,
right,
and working with you through the weekend and getting your house under contract and calling that listing agent, and all of a sudden you're going to go and shop that rate around. It's like, yeah, it's unfortunate, and we stand by our rates too. I mean, it's not like we're any different than anyone else. I mean, I do it to other people too. It's like, if I get presented with something and they already did the work on it, and my honest rate's better than their honest rate, and somebody goes with me, hey, it works both ways,
right,
you know. But I would almost compare that to a real estate agent that gets somebody under contract. Right. And then all of a sudden, you know,
you're not our realtor.
Like 2 weeks before closing, hey, all of a sudden I'm gonna call this person, and they're gonna do it for 1%,
right,
you know, 1% off the commission, and it's like, for people to switch at that, I guess it's hard to explain that to the public, because
right,
they're like, well, at the end of the day, this is the payment that I'm paying.
But I do think that, you know, the service behind something, I mean, inherently people are good, right, and people want to do right by other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the service is backed behind it, I often think, like, for us, commission is really never an issue, because they know they're going to get, I mean, how do I say that? I don't want to sit up here like we're tooting our own horn, right? But they're going to get an absolute robust marketing plan system,
100%.
Top-notch agents. We don't send people into listings that are new agents. They have to be seasoned veterans, pros. Listing a home is very different than selling a home to a buyer. Like, so many variables, and we know that we're putting, like, we don't accept part-time agents. Like, there's just so much different. You want to go save one, like, here's what I always say to people, like, because generally people want to save 1%.
Yeah.
Like, commission 6, well, you do it for 5. And I'm like, okay, so we're talking about 1%. The house is $500,000. What's 1% of $500,000?
$5,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's sweet fuck all.
Right, exactly.
It's nothing. Now, I'm not diminishing $5,000. You got $5,000, I'll take the 5, and if I give you 5, you'll take it. But we're talking about, I'm going to be negotiating $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 increments.
Yeah.
$5,000 is nothing in the scheme of things, especially if there's a plan behind this taking this home to the market, if you will, if we're selling a home, right? And again, I don't want to sit here like this isn't the friggin' Wentworth real estate show, but these things matter, right?
Yep.
If we have a system and a plan in place that's going to produce you multiple offers, and we're not going to just jump on the first offer and cost you other offers that were potentially $20,000 or $30,000 higher, that alone is worth $5,000.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes. But we don't really have that issue anymore, because I think the consumers that know our brand know what we're going to bring forward. And so I think when people know that there's a good product and that it's going to serve them well, it's like anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go buy a suit for $300, or you can go buy a suit for $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
The one for $1,000 probably going to last you a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I mean, people think I'm crazy. I don't even wear suits hardly anymore. You have one on. But I have, like, the first suit I bought when I went to Craig Ryan, my eyeballs popped out of my head when I saw the price.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, I'm married 15 years this December. That was just after I got married. I still wear that suit.
Damn. Yeah.
Now it might look played out, but it's not falling apart. So everything, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get what you pay for in everything. It's the old cliche, but it's so very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So no, that's good stuff, man, for sure.
I don't know how long we've been going, but let's bring this to a close. I guess, you know, share something. I always think about this with you, right? Like, I always in my head, I'm like, I know there's something about that dude. There's something deep. There's something that haunts you. there's something somewhere along the lines that has built you into the person that you are. And I've never heard what that is.
Yeah. Hitting it hard here. All right. I would have to say, my dad passed away when I was in 3rd grade. And I don't know. Just, it's kind of weird. I buried that. I kind of went away from it. I think I put up my numb walls back in the day, and very fortunate for my mom to have remarried, and I think she did so within 4 years. So there was a little bit of time there where I didn't have that father figure. Uncles, but they only do so much, and big brother, but I mean he's 4 years older than me, and shit at the time. I mean I was 3rd grade, he was in 7th grade, so it's not like we were that far apart. But I go back to, I guess one of my motivating factors is I don't want to be that. I don't really talk about him much. I don't really share much about him ever, but I remember he was never home.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to think about, but he was worked to provide beyond belief, like to the point to where I honestly believe it killed him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It's like, just, I guess that's about as deep and dark as I can get. But love him, respect the hell of what he did, but also too, there's always going to be kind of that void that I never really had. And for Bam, I want to make sure that never fucking happens.
Right.
So yeah. So
I love it,
that's
man.
probably it.
That's obviously it's a tough loss, but give yourself some grace, and
of course,
and I think at the same time there's that time when you need to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And this is that time.
Okay. Right.
Because he's looking down on you and proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, life was so different then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was basically like my dad worked in the shop.
Yeah.
Right? And my mother obviously committed suicide when I was 6. It's so weird. I need to bring my freaking phone in on these podcasts. But just the other day I was talking about this on Facebook. I made a post and my dad texted me the date that my mom died, and I never really knew it. And I don't remember it to this day, even though I looked at this text last night. I actually screenshotted the text last night. But my dad went to work at 5 a.m. And he dropped me off at the neighbor's house. That's who watched me.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up, day after day after day after day. It was just different then.
Yeah.
But what a blessing to be in the business that we're in. To be able
100%.
to, people go, you can make your own hours. Yeah, it's all the hours, right?
Yeah, right?
It's all the hours. We just can do it from a lot of different places.
For sure.
But definitely a blessing to be in this business. You're doing great, man. I'm super proud of you.
Oh man, we appreciate everything that we've built, and with you guys, it just feels normal, and it feels like it's family, and it feels like we're home. So, we're thrilled to be where we're at, and we just can't wait to keep growing this thing.
Well, you're inspiring a lot of people. He actually spoke at our team retreat this year, which is really cool. How did you like that?
Oh, it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
It was great. A little nerve wracking. I'm still getting over that. Being able to be in front of people and talk and confidently do it, but hey, I was in the thick of 75 hard. There wasn't shit that was going to stop me. So
perfect time.
Yeah.
Last time I went in 75 hard, I wrote a rap.
A rap.
Yeah, it's really good too. I'm not even shitting you. It's really good. If it sucked, I would tell you. But it's on an old phone, and I need to find that phone because there's I don't know where it is.
Well, hell yeah.
I don't remember all the shit. I just made the shit up in a moment. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Adam McCullough, Wentworth Home Loans. More importantly, husband, father, friend, great dude. Don't try to get in the gym with him because he will jack you up. I can assure you of that. You can check him out on Instagram. We got some crazy ass thing on there. What's it called?
Well, I got at Mystic McAuliffe. That is my Instagram handle.
Mystic. This motherfucker shows up in a 21 Jump Street suit.
It's a singlet.
A singlet. Yeah. It's a 21 jumpsuit. And but so Mystic McAuliffe.
Yeah.
And then that's on what?
That's Instagram. Facebook's just my name, and
Facebook. He's normal on Facebook.
Adam McAuliffe.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Adam McAuliffe on Facebook. Mystic Singlet.
Picking shit up over my head.
Yeah. On Instagram. But thanks for tuning in. We do not have a name for this podcast, so. You know what? That's what when we move this office, everyone's like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we got to make it pretty, and da-da-da-da. I'm like, I can sell shit standing on the roof of this thing. And it's the same thing with the podcast. You know what the name matters? Jack shit if the podcast sucks. So hopefully we did a good job for you guys. We love you. Peace and hair grease. Great job.
Awesome, bro.
That was great. That was probably an hour.
Shit, yeah. We covered a lot of shit right there.
Yeah.
It's it's like, all right, hold it together.
Oh, my phone's right here. How did I not see it? All right. I'm going to pull this down.
That'd be funny as shit if you were, if that was on camera.
What?
That your phone's right next to you and you're like, where the fuck's my phone?
All the cameras are still going, so it is. I mean, this shit is right there. All right, I'm going to see what my dad says.
Oh, damn, dude. Yeah, a lot of deep stuff, man.
October 4th, 1977, you were 5 years old.
Wow.
Oh, that's why, because I sent him Damon's podcast, Damon West, and in a conversation I had with Damon, because we did a live together, we were talking about that, and I told him about my mom committed suicide, and I said, I don't even know the date. Well, and then my dad. So this is the other cool thing about social media, is that so many times I hear people say, well, I didn't get any likes or da-da-da-da. People are always watching.
Yeah.
Even my dad. My dad doesn't like my shit. I didn't know that he watched it until I get this text from him about the date that my mom passed. Right? So.
Crazy, man.
I know, it's wild.
All right. Love you, brother.
I'm ready for bed.